Okay, thank you very much for being here. I'm JJ Merelo. I work at the University of Granada, and this is what I'm going to talk about. So I'm not sure about the name of the language. I think there was some kind of proposal to call it 6lang, which I love, but for the time being, it's still Perl6. So what I'm going to tell you is 6 reasons why you, and probably everyone else, should learn Perl6 or 6lang or whatever right now. How many people is already working on Perl6? Show of hands. Okay, not so many. That's good. The first thing is, do we really want it to be a first language? Because what I'm going to talk about is a bit of a personal experience on how Perl6 could really be a first language. You know, the first thing you learn when you start to learn programming. Because so far, most of the things I have seen market Perl6 as something as a better Perl for Perl programmers. I don't think that's a way to go for several reasons. So I think that what we should really try is to make Perl6 a first language, a first programming language. But do we want to do that? First thing is here. You probably have seen this, right? It still hurts. It's going to hurt for some time. And that's pretty bad. It makes you think. So how can they hate Perl and not PHP? So I said, come on. But it's true. I mean, if you look at the statistics, this was taken in Stack Overflow. In Stack Overflow, you can define a profile, and in your profile, you can say, I like this language, I like this language, I'm going to learn this language or whatever, and then you can also say, I hate that language. And Perl is right there. You know, the second one is Delphi. That's nice. Third one is Visual Basic, and PHP is still there. So I mean, not everything is lost. This is bad. This, of course, it mostly about feelings, but this is even worse. It means that dislikes means that they are shrinking in the number of questions answered in Stack Overflow. And I think that's really bad. You see, Perl is right here. Right? Sorry. It's sad. You see here, it means that from one year to the next, year on year, there are around 20% less questions answered or questions that have been tagged Perl. That means that the language is probably not doing so well. And I think that, I mean Perl in general, because Perl is Perl. Perl5 and Perl6 are both Perl. So dislike means that it's shrinking. That's probably bad. We've got to do something about that. All this talk is about making you love Perl6 and making you love Perl, and maybe advocate for it, and maybe try to push it as a fair. I mean, the talk right before, it was excellent. I think we should try and do that with Perl6 and with Perl. We should mentor, we should try, and I'm going to give you the reasons why. There's also a special place for first. This is a Spectrum. I don't know if you have seen it. How many people here learned with a Spectrum? It was a wonderful thing. We had this basic, we had this command line, we had this completion, you know, keys that you could type directly with one single key, basic command. There's a special place for first. And this is also a bit of a personal story. And that story started right here in London Perl, in London Perl workshop last year, because I was talking about how we should teach languages in this century and right now. And I thought, you know, it was a little bit theoretical. I remember that Sawyer told me that whenever I talk about something, it makes you think. But then there was another person that told me, okay, this is all good, this is all well. I mean, you say how you should teach languages in this century, but you gotta do it. You gotta talk the talk, and you gotta walk the walk. So what I did was actually teach my daughters Perl6. She's one of them. She's Charo. She's now studying to be a nurse. And she was 17 last year. She's now 18. And in fact, this is a talk she gave in something we call a D-Day in Granada. It was a talk that was sponsored by Booking, once again through Sawyer, so thank you very much. It was a talk, it was a technical conference. Every one of the speakers was a woman. And I told her, Charo, why don't you talk about your experience learning Perl6? And she gave 6 reasons why Perl6 was a great language. This was her first. It's easy to learn. Perl6 is easy to learn for somebody who had very little. In fact, she had been, I have been teaching them programming since they were 7. So, I mean, it's not as if they have zero experience, but they haven't been learning a proper language. They have been learning Scratch, maybe a little bit of Python, which is not a proper language. So, anyway, very little experience. First thing she said, it's easy to learn. So, it shouldn't be too difficult for someone who's 17, who's 14, who's first year of computer science, or anything else to learn things. Because learning shapes thinking. And I think that the way, I was talking yesterday, I think to Sawyer, too. Was Sawyer? Yes, was Sawyer. I mean, I talked to Sawyer too much. He must be fed up with me. And he was telling me that every language, every computer language and every language has its own world model, right? So learning shapes thinking. If we teach people to learn, if we teach people Perl6, they will start to think like Perl6, which is a beautiful language. So we want Perl6 to go first, right? And not sixth, especially not after Perl5, because people hate it. So what I did was, okay, I started to ask people in Twitter, because that's the thing you do scientifically, we scientists ask people in Twitter. And 177 people answer, what was our first language? And I started to draw some conclusions from it. So people said basic, most of the people who follow me started with basic. Some people started with Pascal. I think the main difference is people who were in academia started doing Pascal or something similar, like Modulo 2 or something like that. Java, people who are in academia later on, like in the 2000, right?
Algol 60.
Algol 60, that's a good one. Some people said Fortran, some people say, no, I did the directly assembler. And some people even said, no, I did the hexadecimal. So anyway, a scheme is something that some people at MIT did, but very few people, very few followers of mine actually studied at MIT. They have one thing in common. All these languages, I also asked, okay, if it's not any of them, because you can only put 4, what was your first language? And they all had one thing in common. They came first. So there was nothing similar about every language. Java, Basic, they're not similar at all. Even Scheme or Ada, whatever, they just came first. They were the first. Of course, there was some difference between academia and self. I mean, academia likes things like, structure, programming, things like that. People who learn by themselves, they learn Basic or they start with Perl or things like or R or things like that. But anyway, they were there. So you have to teach a language that's actually existing. That's there. That's got support. That you can download. You can do the thing. So, and most people still like them. So people started to learn Basic, and they still like Basic. There are lots of people who dislike Visual Basic for application of VBA, but still people like them. They started with Pascal, and they like Pascal. They started with Java. They say, okay, this is the first thing I learned. So even if they are such an ugly car as this one, so most people like them. That's the first reason. Okay? So Perl6 is there. It exists. So we need it to exist to make it a first language. So first reason. Okay? But this is that everything that happens on GitHub, you can do a big query, right? You can do something called big query, and you can query every event that's happening there. I said that it was new repos in GitHub. It's actually not. This pull request. So this is the number of pull requests made for Perl repositories and Perl6 repositories. So Perl is right there, and Perl6 is down there. So there's a big difference right now. Of course, I did this using Perl6, and it was pretty easy. The most difficult part was to do all the big query thing. But then after that was done, was a couple of lines, map and VH and things and stuff. And do you know this? This is the Thorn letter. It's only existing in one language nowadays, in Icelandic. That's amazing. I'm an Icelandophile. They are going to be in the World Cup, so it's amazing. But besides, it's right by the side of the caret. You press Alt-G-R and P, and you have it. So I want to push this as the new foo. So please help me with that. Because Iceland is an amazing country, and this is a very nice letter. Do you know which very famous god has that letter on his name? Thor. So you got it. Okay, I'm going to use that thing, I'm going to use it through the talk. I hope you use it too. Anyway, this was only to show you a little bit of Perl6. This is even worse. What's the ranking of pull requests? So if you try and put a ranking of all the languages doing pull requests, Perl started here. It's gone down to 24, 25. So it's the 25th language of repositories getting pull requests in GitHub. And of course, Perl6 is up there. So it's barely in the top 100. Actually, last month was, I think, 94 or something like that. That's bad. People don't like Perl. People don't like Perl6 so much. I think that's bad. We're going to do something about it. So it's a system now. Anyway, we should do something about it. We need to be there, right? So once again, what I did was I went to Dev2. It's a very nice community. It's a community where you can post articles and you can also post questions, such as this one. What would you like your first programming language to be or have been? And I got this very nice answer from Alice Peter. 2 keys here. First one, should be similar to natural language. I don't think that Perl6 is too similar to natural language, with the sigils and twizzles and all the things. Okay, so we can do that. But we can make it similar to maybe another language. More of that later on. But then what you need is you build such practical and fun things with just a little bit of code. Just check this out. Barely 4 lines of code. I'm analyzing the JSON returned by a BigQuery, and it's just 2 lines of code. So okay, we can do that. We can make Perl6 a good language. And there's also another thing. I don't know if it mentions it here, but it's better if it's interpreted. Most people work nowadays with interpreted language. Why? Because you don't have to go into an IDE. You just start to type things. You have an interpreter, just a rep. You start to do things, and it's there, right? We can do things like this, for instance, just directly. You go into Perl6, you type Perl6, you get into the command line, and you start to do things like this, right? Okay, so you can do pretty complicated things. By the way, all those things are in my book. I don't know if you know I have a book. Here. Here's my book. In front of the camera. You can buy it from the stall right there. And this is basically the approach I followed when I was teaching my doctors Perl6. So everything was on the command line. So you could do pretty complicated things on the command line, and you get to see the flow, you get to see the operations. Even if you do complicated things like this thing and com and map, you build it little by little, and people start to understand it. And no loops at all. Okay, you can do this kind of thing, and it's pretty easy. It's pretty fine. So that makes 2. Perl6 has an interpreter. Good reason to be a first language. These were actually my doctors. We did a small hackathon. This is my living room there. So they got their computer. They are actually computers that I stopped using. So they got all the beautiful stickers, including, of course, Perl and Perl mongers here and there and whatever. So that's what I did. So I started to talk to them. I told them, okay, we are going to do this. We are going to do it at home on Saturdays, on Sundays, on the afternoon, whatever. Half an hour sessions. They weren't too long because I had to study. Elena here and Ceci here, they're studying first year of computer science now, which means that they don't see any kind of programming at all, but things, interesting things for programming like physics and things like that. Because of course you need to build a computer from atoms, so you need to know the physics. Anyway, and here's Charo again. She's the one who's studying to be a nurse, right? And actually, what I was doing, I was taking notes of every little session. So I got a session, and this is what happened when I started to get them into the interpreter. So this is written way after it took place. I don't remember anything, so I guess it must have been rather uneventful. So I put them into the command line. They started to use it. It was pretty good. They took it in stride. It was okay, right? But still, I don't know if you know this. This is bpython. This is a pretty amazing command line. It's not the standard command line. You got a command line in Python that's pretty much the same as in Perl6 or in Perl. But this one is bpython. It's a module you install. You got completion. You got colors. You got all kinds of things. It remembers what you did before. It's very, very, very nice. It's incredibly nice. I think we will need something like that, because it would be even easier. You have to remember, for instance, it remembers the name of the arrays. It knows. It does some introspection, so you know what kind of functions you can do. That would be just amazing. Still, we got a great grab. I love the messages. They are absolutely amazing. They assume what you are doing, and they tell, no, maybe you shouldn't do that. You know, this is non-associative, it should require parentheses, and they say, okay, you're doing this like you would do it in Perl5. Don't do that. I mean, Perl6 is different language. So it's pretty good. I like it. It could be better. And then, second thing, everybody was mentioning things like Ruby or Python or things like that. And most of them are Java, they're C++. They are mostly object-oriented languages. It's full of objects. Everyone is doing object-oriented programming. So you can do that in Perl6. You can declare a class. You can do stuff with classes. You can make a class via the send out of other classes, inheritance. So it's just good. We got that. We got that covered. So that makes 3. This is the third reason why we should teach it. It's people like object-oriented languages. We do object orientation. But still, I don't think that it's so fashionable right now, object orientation. You know, with reactive programming, that kind of thing, event-based programming, people don't do that kind of thing. What do? Functional. It's mostly functional nowadays. Most languages, again, they are functional. Python is functional, Ruby is functional. Python is a bit reluctant. They say, okay, we are going to do functions, but I don't like functions, so I will make it as difficult as possible for you to use functions. But still, you can do kind of function, right? Of course, it's functional. So you can do any kind of thing with functions. Once again, I use Vira. Vira is the new bar. So Thorn is the new foo, and Vira is the new bar. It's right here, right? And you can do cool things just like this. This is an array of functions, and you are grabbing an array of functions, checking what they return, what they actually return. So if you are going to make functions first-class citizens, you really have to do that. It's not only about defining functions. It's about doing everything with functions, like this, right? And you can do that.
Can you send function as a parameter?
Yeah, you can do everything. I mean, you can do all kinds of things. You can take functions as a parameter. You can return functions. So actually, one of the things I did with my doctor, and it's also in the book, it's that I was creating a function that defined a function based on lazy sequences. So you can do, as I say, all kinds of things. It's absolutely amazing.
What about like simple example of the derivative?
A what?
The derivative, like you have what's it called, this calculus, and I mean.
Yeah, you can have a kind of lambda calculus, and it's very, very nice. I'm not going to do it here. Just very few samples to give you just a taste of what's going on. But for instance, you got something that's in very few languages, only in Haskell, Scala, which is the you can see it here. But these are called dependent types. They are types that depend on the content of the variable, not on another types. So you can do things like that. Okay, you can define popular object-oriented languages in language stats, where rank is less than 10 and type is 00. Python, okay, and you check if it's in that type, right? That's true. Then you do the same with Perl. Oh, probably not so popular, anyway, because it fails. But you can do this kind of dependent types with Perl6, and that's amazing. So that makes 4. This is how I thought. We were probably 10 or 11 sessions into this class, and this is what they said. So I thought that the concept of stand-ins, because this thorn is a stand-in, it's not really a variable, so it's like a slot that you're going to fill with whatever parameters you're going to say. It was a good chance to start explaining transformative nature of languages in a functional way. So I did all that. That's from, once again, this is from the session diary. They took it in stride. It was very good. By the way, all this is in the repository for the book. The book is it's an open source book. It's right there. The same as this presentation. But still, no buts. Perl6 is amazing. So maybe it could be a bit faster. So if you check out Haskell, you compile Haskell, and it's blazingly fast. It's the fastest thing out there. Perl6 is very fast. It's quite fast. But still some way to go. But anyway, okay, let's go back and say, no, it's just amazing, right? Anyway, nobody has mentioned Unicode. Unicode is important. Nobody I asked said, "Oh, I learned this language because it has Unicode support and this and that." But then my daughter, she gave the talk. She chose her own 6 reasons, and she talked about Unicode because she loved to be working with cards and with lambda and with infinite and all that. She started to use Emacs to input Unicode, and she did it online, and she loved that. She liked that. I mean, it's nice. You got all kind of emojis. You got all kind of cool stuff. So Unicode is nice, and it's good for learners. That makes 5. So we can do that with Perl6. My very own experience. We eventually did some simple operation, including working with Unicode characters. So as soon as there are some problems with the command. If you use red line or you use the other one, line noise, and you use a simple console, you're going to have troubles. If you delete some Unicode characters, it's going to come back. But if you use Emacs, it's fine. So we always use the shell. We open the shell inside Emacs. We open Perl6 inside Emacs. We can input all kinds of things. Still, input is a pain, unless you use Emacs. I mean, it's still painful. So you have to press Ctrl X 8 and then do stuff. But there should be an easier way of doing that. Then, programming is math in disguise. Perl6 takes out part of the disguise. So you can do things like this. This is a set. Not actually a set. It's a range. But anyway, you can do this. You can do intersection, and you can do this. Is a real Perl6 line. And you can do intersection. You can do more than that. You can do that. You can do the Euler's formula. Only it's not going to be exactly the same value. So you got some kind of floating point error. But anyway, it's cool. And you can do also things like this. This is Fibonacci. 1 line. That's it. I was trying to do Bernoulli. Somebody was mentioning Bernoulli this morning in the talk. I was trying to do that. You can probably do it in Perl6 in 1 line. Probably Jeff would be able to do that. But I haven't been able to do it. I would have loved to show it. It's useful. It's not only about math. You got math. It's amazing. You can do stuff with math. If you got to compare 2 files, this is actually a line I have actually used. So I got like a mailing list. You got many emails, and you want to email only those that you haven't already emailed. So you got one list. You got another list. You want to make the ones that are on the first list that are not on the second list. Just think about it. Perl5, probably you would need some library or whatever. You do that. Single line of code in Perl6. You do all set math and everything. You can do that with Perl6. And you can use the same symbols, which means that it's a natural language. Remember, initially, Ali, the person that answered in that.2, she said, I like, you want to say something, Liz?
You actually don't need to correspond to sets before that because the set operator will do that for you.
Ah, great. Thank you very much, Liz. So it's even shorter. So Perl6 is something like a natural language. If you consider that math is also a natural language. You can do many math expressions. You can do them exactly the same way that they will appear in a textbook. Make 6. So there were 6 reasons why Perl6 is a great. There is another one. Still, command line, charts. If you look at things like R, it's got amazing graphics and charts and everything. I would need something like that. So once again, the command line, you would need something like completion or still, it's pretty good. It's pretty nice, and you can do lots of mathematical things with that. And that's concurrency. This is not a reason, because nobody has mentioned concurrency. Some people said, I'm learning now Go. People are starting to learn Go. People are starting to learn pretty weird things like Elixir. You've heard about Elixir? Elixir is like Erlang for humans, but still is Erlang. So it's just weird. You can do concurrency pretty easily with Perl6. That's nice. And once again, my daughter. I'm quoting my daughter. I'm very proud of her. I'm very proud of my 3 daughters, of course. But she mentioned great community. Number 2. You remember? I don't know if you were in FOSDEM. I was there with her. How many of you were in FOSDEM? We did a theater kind of a stage thing, and she was with me. And she was incredibly happy with you. So she said, Perl people are the most amazing people I've ever met. She wants, what? Yeah. So we have to keep that. She wanted to come with me this year again, but she's got exams and stuff, and probably it's not a very good idea. And anyway, we have to keep that great community, and we have to keep it growing. If we want it to grow, we have to get new people in. We have to get new people to learn Perl6 and Perl5. And actually, we can help ourselves by helping everyone. By helping everyone to learn a new language, a first language, a language that's going to take them everywhere. Because Perl, you can use it for everything. It's an incredible, amazing language. And also, we can save Perl5 by doing it with Perl6. Most of the things I have said could apply also to Perl5. But still, I think that Perl6 has many things that are not really there in Perl5, for instance, concurrency. So I think that we should help everyone by helping ourselves, or the other way around. And that's it. Thank you very much. I got a lot of time, so. Questions, comments? Yes, please.
15 years ago, an ex-employee of mine impressed me with Python, showing me that you could do a Fibonacci sequence in one line. You've just shown me that you can do it in Perl now.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, please.
What advice do you have to people who are learning Perl6 first?
Say it again. Sorry.
What advice do you have for people who are learning Perl6 as their first language?
Well, they have to meet the community, because the community is going to help anyway. They can use any resource that's out there. Some of the books that are for sale, some tutorials that are. I find the documentation a bit hard for starters. So probably they should start with some book, and then use the community to support themselves. So just be a little bit systematic about it. Start to do things. Also, they should try and do something meaningful for them, like some little task that they like, they would like to do. I have done many little things in Perl6, and that's helped me to go ahead with Perl. So start with something meaningful you want to do, then inform yourself, get some tutorial, get help from the community, and I think that's it. I mean, everyone should do it. It's really I mean, for me, it's one of the most amazing languages that's out there, together with Perl. So. You can also ask for help in Twitter. I think that I follow most of the people that are in Twitter, and they really help you in Twitter. You do a question in Twitter, and they answer you straight away. The IRC channel is amazing. There's people there all the time. Liz is there most of the time, and
I'm not following anything.
But besides the IRC channel has a bot. And you can use it directly to evaluate Perl6 expressions from the IRC channel. So you can do that. You can pretty much find several resources to manage yourself, and you probably succeed. I mean, it looks like a difficult language because it's heavy, lots of heavy stuff. It's really not. It's easy. I mean, the first reason why people my doctors were doing it's because it's easy. So, thank you for your question. Yes, please.
I have like suggestion, because when I came here, I can learn a lot of stuff about Perl. But usually when I like to learn new language, I just like to try quickly. And if Perl is quite difficult because you need to download, install. I think if I try to Racket, Haskell, whatever, I just do apps. And maybe I have to change the repository, but with Perl6, I need to go for some.
Not really anymore. So you can test it in several web pages out there. You have the IRC channel, and you got the bot, whatever it's called. Then there is a Docker container. Actually, there are several Docker containers with Docker.
Yeah.
So you can just load a container and start to work straight away. One of them is mine. I think that Claudio has another one. You can also download packages from, I think that Cloud is packaging it for Debian. So you don't need to do Raccoon. I think so. I think that Claudio has done it. So
there is a Debian one that gets updated a little bit behind the release of because that's what I've moved to, because I find it easier to keep track.
So If you want to test it, you can download the Docker container, and you can start. Yeah, you can start straight away. And if not, you can use Rakudo Brew, but Rakudo Brew is not really advisable. It's more for developers than for final users. But there are many ways. I mean, nowadays it's quite easy to get even for complete beginners. Yeah. Any other question? No? Oh, yes, please.
I don't like Emacs. I've been using VI since 93, 94 or something. It's not easy for me to adapt to something else, particularly that I've tried before and found I didn't like. In the old days when it was 100
yeah.
VI could be UK. If I don't use Emacs, what would you recommend for using as a development environment?
You can use VI. You can use VI or Vim. The only thing is that it's probably a way of doing, these strange characters in.
If you go to docs.perl6.org, there's actually a page there that describes how to input Unicode characters for number of
okay.
So one of them is VI.
Is it
great.
like doing codes for them or something like opcodes and stuff?
Yeah, but I say that you don't need to do it. So everything in Unicode, every operator in Unicode has an equivalent, which is a combination of characters.
It's going to work fine with them.
Yeah. You can also use it in Atom, and you can do all kind of things. So you're not obliged to do that kind of thing in Perl6. You can use something that's called a Texas equivalent. Texas equivalent is so, for instance, the equivalent to that circle with the little dash inside it is parentheses and a caret. You have an equivalent for every kind of. Another thing. Yep, so it's easy to do. I allow Emacs, and for me it was quite easy and to do that kind of thing. So I, as a side effect of having my daughters learn Perl6, they learn Emacs, which is something you gotta do in the family. Any other question? No? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.